Chapter 1051 of One Piece did a good job of reminding me why sometimes I hate to love Oda and therefore One Piece. Don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. The other side of the coin, loving to hate something, that is a very bad thing. You gotta really hate something to love to hate it. But in order to hate to love something, you gotta love it in the first place. Now, the best example I can give from this chapter on why sometimes I hate to love Oda is Kinemon. I am in the camp of people, the very, very large camp of people, that think Kinemon should have died. There are people in this camp that think he should have died to raise the stakes of the arc, raise the dramatic tension, all kinds of things like that. Death in a series like this can be very useful and a very good thing, even when it's sad. Just because it's sad doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Anyway, that's not exactly why I think Kinemon should have died. I'm perfectly fine with that side of it, but I more really stick to the whole factually, the dude should be dead. Okay? Like, the fact that he is still alive and managed to live through what he went through kind of just makes me say, that's dumb. But in this chapter, one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite moment, quite possibly my favorite tiny little character interaction between two people in all of Wano, honestly, was when Kozuki Momonosuke is given his grand speech, his first ever speech as the Shogun of Wano, and he doesn't know what to say next. So he begins to tremble, looks at... I'm sorry, I can't. Looks at Kinemon and dude's like, what do I say, dude? Like, you gotta help me out here a little bit. Kinemon's only response is, well, you know what they say, kid. Fake it till you make it. That was absolutely hilarious. That hit me just perfectly. And it also reminded me that I just love the dynamic between Momonosuke and Kinemon. Now, here's where I run into a problem, and I hate to love Oda. I love this moment so much. It's such a simple moment, and it just hit me personally right. I love it. Now, I can't imagine a world without this moment. But, if I think Kinemon should be dead, that kind of puts me in a little bit of a quandary. I do not agree with the fact that Kinemon somehow miraculously survived because Law is shit at being a doctor, even though he has a fruit that makes you just perfect at being a doctor. How? What, Law just forgot to connect me properly down there, so the stab didn't do... It's dumb, but I love this moment. So Oda can do things that I just do not agree with, and then somehow I'm magically okay with it because he just does something I absolutely love. Now, another thing that goes along with this. I'm not necessarily happy with how this is all ending. I, for one, was celebrating Luffy's victory just because, well, it kind of looked like a victory, but I wasn't entirely positive that that was the end. I even said in my chapter 1049 review that I was definitely not ruling out the possibility that Kaido gets back up, that things are not completely done with. Then, in chapter 1050, that made me think even more so that Kaido was going to get back up. Chapter 1050 just it didn't feel right to me. This underwater volcano, I don't know. It didn't feel right. It just made me feel like this was not it. Now we get to this chapter, and on top of the fact that, the farther you get away from Kaido's defeat, if it was his full defeat, still not fully going there. But we're getting a lot closer. The farther you get away from the Bajran gun punching him into the ground and then the boom, the farther you get away from that, the less and less likely it is that he gets back up. It's less and less likely that we kick things back up again before leaving Wano. Unless the world government does actually try to annex Wano like they said they were going to if Kaido got defeated. Yeah, we'll get into that later. So on top of the length of time since Kaido was defeated, still gonna throw up the air quotes just in case, gotta cover the bases. Either way, the length of time and this chapter makes me feel kind of the opposite. Oda is just making me emotionally flip-flop, and that is trying to tug my brain in different directions on whether or not we're actually done here. Stop using my emotions to toy with my brain, Oda. I don't appreciate it. And this chapter also reminded me of one more thing. I completely do not understand and do not agree with the argument that One Piece is too long or some One Piece arcs are too long. The One Piece arc fatigue in the One Piece community itself, I kind of get. Like, I can understand, like, if you kind of get tired of the same arc for so long. Really doesn't affect me too terribly much. I'm honestly fine with letting Oda have as much time as he wants to do whatever he wants. I'm fine with it. I don't care. But I get that. But the overall argument against One Piece's length, especially when it comes from fans of other series that are also really, really long, trust me, I love those series too, but you get what I'm saying. But in general, I don't like the argument against the length. I actually think the length is a very, very good thing. Something that I think that really helps with is the amount of time things are allowed to build up and dwell before finally getting a payoff. Something like Tama in this chapter, for instance. If the things that had happened with Tama and all of our experiences with Tama happened, I don't know, 7 months ago, sure, this would still be a good moment and everything. But the fact that all of that happened with Tama, that we experienced all of that, happened so long ago, even in our real world time, that just makes the payoff for me so much better. Allowing things to have true proper time to build and dwell and stew and just sit, and it's like you're cooking up an actual stew. You're letting all those ingredients sit in there and all the flavors get to just mingle and condense and hang out for a while until it pops out something beautiful and delicious. I love how long One Piece is. It gives so many advantages to a long running series. Especially, like I said, build up and payoff. And with this being said, we gotta talk about Tama because that was probably the best part of the chapter, if you ask me. We learned that her parents died, and she obviously struggled to live on her own. This is already a difficult country to live in, and now you have a child on their own with a funky looking dog hanging out with it that also needs food to eat. So, another stomach, another mouth to feed. There you go. Even harder on the small child. Well, Mr. Friendly Tengu pops up, and he's like the only person to buy a hat. Everybody else is apparently a terrible person. Kidding, they're kind of broke. Anyway, he shows up and he tells her that don't worry, it'll just be a few more years and the Kozuki will return. Now we come back to the moment where we obviously are. We've won the day, the Kozuki have returned, and Tama just goes running into Nami's arms, bawling. Not only thinking about all of that, having all of those emotions come rushing back, but also thinking back to when Luffy told her not to celebrate, like eating was something special. Soon she would be able to eat as much as she wanted every day. And now that reality is getting closer and closer to actually being tangible, to her stomach actually being full. That was beautiful. And then we have the speech from Momonosuke. To me, this speech from Momonosuke was honestly just uplifting. It felt as if we were hitting that kind of uplifting curve. Now, this is how my brain works, and this is also Oda making me do mental gymnastics on this whole Kaido comes back, no, we're done, Kaido comes back, no, we're done. This was an uplifting curve to me, but that also tells me that this is Oda trying to make us relax and not expect it now, and then once he gets as many people as he can get off guard, he will then bring Kaido back in. It's just this constant circle of, no, okay, we're actually done. No, that's what he wants us to think. No, we're actually done. No, that's what he wants us to think. It's a constant circle, and it's a terrible cycle. Now, one thing I did not like at all about Momonosuke's speech. Pretty much close to the end, or basically at the end, you get this little, like, perched, sad, whatever, cry face from Hiyori, and we get Momonosuke giving her a hug, and then they're like walking. Well, the meeting of Hiyori and Momonosuke has been an all-time flop. Okay, this has not been an emotional moment at all. We're just skipping over their entire meeting for the first time. I guess Oda will probably, give us a conversation between the two of them when things calm down enough to where they can actually like fully talk. But wouldn't like the first time they're like, oh, Hiyori, oh, Momonosuke, like that very first moment, could that have not have been, something better? Because we basically got nothing from it. I don't know. That's kind of disappointing if you ask me, but I'll let Oda have some time to turn it around. Who knows? Whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure he'll still give us some kind of good moment between the two of them. I doubt we make it out of the arc without that at all. Now, the last thing we need to talk about is not something that happened in this chapter, but something I expect to happen at some point, just from what we've been told previously in the series. The annexation, or at least the attempted annexation of Wano Kuni by the world government if Kaido loses. That was their plan. That's what they said they were going to do. If Kaido falls, we will annex Wano country. Well, if we're going down the route that Kaido has fallen and he's not going to come back in at the last second, are they still going to go through with it? You would think so. It's the world government, and it's not like they were making a threat to somebody specifically. It was a superior officer, a commanding officer, telling a subordinate, hey, if he dies, if he loses, go attack him. Kind of weird to just turn around like, you know what, never mind. But at the same time, they had the giant elephant known as Zunisha walk up. That might put a little hitch in the plan. Sir, the giant elephant's still here. Do we still try to attack? I don't know what's it been doing. Just standing there. Have you tried attacking it? Why would I do that? That sounds like a horrible idea. I am not going to attack that thing unless it is a direct order from a commanding officer. Well, it's funny to say that. I hate you so much right now. Fire the cannons. So did it do anything? No, it didn't do anything. It has an island on its back. It's huge. Oh, you didn't say anything about the island on its back. I think I was kind of underestimating the size. I don't know why I even enlisted in this place to be here. I'm questioning so many decisions in my life right now. Seriously, I could imagine Zunisha kind of putting a damper on their plans. But at the same time, I could also very well see them still going through with it. Zunisha hasn't really been super hostile towards them, like I said. We saw Zunisha show up, and he's kind of just been chilling, talking to Momonosuke sometimes. Kind of just scoot around him, I would think. But I don't know. I kind of hope that we do go down that route. It would be kind of interesting. It would add a little more tension to the end of the arc because a lot of us feel like we're kind of missing something. And this would not involve Kaido getting back up, which would also be kind of funky because like he's taking a lot of damage. And either way, the world government, they're fresh on the boats, hanging out. They can come in and just restart it all. I'm kind of okay with that. I also don't think that would be a long-lasting battle. I don't think the world government has that many super high-level people on those ships, but I may be wrong. They are trying to annex a country, after all. I don't know. I'm interested to see on what their next move is, and of course, I'm interested and can't wait for the next chapter. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.